Mason Arena here on a Monday night in a potential GMC clincher as the Mason Comets host the Colerain Cardinals for a share of the GMC with the Princeton Vikings. I'm Ben Haller alongside the wonderful Mason Sports Radio advisor, Mr. Connor. Mr. Connor, what are you excited for in this matchup?
Well, I'm pretty fired up because I think this is going to be a good game. The Comets this is a huge game because this could clinch the GMC title. And, obviously they'll be sharing it with Princeton, who is an outstanding team. But Colerain's good. They got a heck of a player in the McNally girl who is putting up about 20 a game and 15 rebounds. So it'll be a good game. So it's not going to be one of those that they just, go out there and don't show up and they just score at will. I think Colerain's going to give them trouble. And last year they had to fight like the Dickens just to get a win at Colerain. So this should be a good game. Plus, I'm looking forward to calling a game with the one and only Big Ben Haller. Last time I was on the air with Sammy Connors, as you know, who's now calling games for Indiana University women's basketball. And hopefully she's listening in tonight. We'll give her a big shout out. But I'm looking forward to calling the game with you. I think the last time I called a game, you were producing, and I think Marilyn Popwell had like 30 rebounds.
I think I owed everyone ice cream or something like
hot
that.
Fudge, Frisch's hot fudge sundae.
I think that was the case.
Yep, definitely. So that's okay. You don't have to owe me on that.
Maybe we'll counter it this time as Oldacre starts the game off, drawing a foul.
What does she need tonight? 20 or 22 points to go to 1,000?
22 points. She will reach 1,000 points. That's the big milestone. It's in the back of everyone's mind. Obviously, the biggest event tonight is clinching that share of the GMC title, as Oldacre is only able to connect on one. Yeah, but for Colerain, it's Abigail McNally. You talked about there's two twins, they're two leading scorers. But Abigail, she's the one averaging 19.5 points per game, giving Oldacre a race for GMC Player of the Year. That'll be interesting to see who gets it. Has a spin move inside, no good. Rebound taken by Bartell, finally grabbed by Oldacre. She's going to try to bring it up herself and finally slows it down. But this is a Colerain team. People look at the standings and think, they're fifth in the GMC. Mason's blowing out these third and fourth place teams, but Colerain is a team that always has Mason's number year in, year out.
They are well coached. They're a pretty disciplined team. There's a mistake there, but I think that what we saw last year out of them was just a team that was gritty. They were battling. Obviously, the Comets have some firepower here, but I think this is going to be a heck of a game.
Oldacre gets it down low for her bread and butter, but takes one too many steps. Maybe could have used a dribble there, a little over eager, and that'll be a turnover for her. And for someone like Oldacre, how much is that in her mind? 22 more points gets her to 1,000.
I don't think it's in her mind. I think that if the game comes to her, she gets it, she gets it. Sometimes I'm not even sure she knows how much she scores. I think she'll celebrate it, but I don't think she's out there going, here's 2 points, here's 4 points. I think that she wants to win. I think she values her role as a calming leader of the team. She knows there's a job to get done tonight.
There's the other McNally, Kylie McNally on the N1. Fouls on the freshman, Maddie Parrish. And Colerain's on the board for the first time tonight, and with a chance to tie it up. And before that, we saw each star player on both teams with a travel. Like we said, maybe a little over-eager in this one. This is a matchup that you look at Colerain's record, you don't think it's going to be a big game, but it's in the Mason player's head what happened last season.
Well, and come on. What's Colerain thinking here? If I'm their coach before this game, I'm in the locker room saying, hey, we're a pretty good team. We've got a winning record. We're right in the middle of the pack in the GMC. We beat Lakota East. Lakota East beat Mason. Let's go out there and spoil this thing on their home floor. Let's spoil everything. Mason's already saying, come join us to celebrate a GMC title. If I'm him, I'm in there saying, let's go out there and ruin this night for them. So they're motivated.
And there's not a whole lot to lose for a team like Colerain with the brackets already out.
Yep.
This is just a makeup game from earlier in the season. These two teams haven't met yet until tonight.
Well, and you look at Colerain's team; they are capable of winning games in the tournament too. They've played a good competitive schedule. The top of the GMC has good teams, and they play with them. So this is a building block game. To play well, possibly pull out a win, but also go into the tournament with a little bit of momentum.
Both teams have started very sloppy, multiple turnovers on each side, and the three up and down from Bartell, able to get it off. And there's Abigail McNally with a nice move in mid-range. She's on the board for the first time tonight, and Colerain takes that early lead, 4:40 left to go in the first.
I think that was a case of three officials not being sure what they just witnessed, so they didn't call anything.
And there's Maddie Parrish on the other side, a shifty move to get inside, and she's quick. And especially as a freshman, you have to feel confident about this future for Mason. And it's a big question mark because you only have one senior on the squad, but she is an All-American, and she's going to play at the University of Miami in Florida. So you kind of feel unsure about next year's team, but I think they're in good hands with the likes of Parrish and Rosano.
Well, and let's look at it this way. Out on the court, a lot of people would like to have said that, man, Mason just shows up with great players, but Kyla Oldeker played a lot last year. Everybody else out there, Amanda Barnes gave him some solid minutes. Rosano was out, So, every minute these younger players have played has been valuable. He's got players on the bench that are going to be back. He's got a JV team that's got some solid players that are going to step in. They're not going to miss a beat. They'll play maybe a different style, but they'll still play disciplined basketball. But for now, I think Coach Matula sees that.
Well, it's hard to not feel confident in a team coached by Rob Matula. And they have the young players that are capable.
The guy's got 300 wins as a girls basketball coach here at Mason.
Yeah.
That's on top of the success he achieved as a boys coach prior to moving to the girls side. So he's been around the block a few times. He knows how to coach players. If you want your kid to improve and get better and develop an overall solid game, Coach Rob Matula is going to get him there.
And Colerain sets up a nice inbounds underneath play for Abigail McNally again. And a little bit of back and forth action as we're over halfway through this first quarter, and I think this is less of an offensive game than we expected this early.
Well, I think Colerain this is exactly what they wanted. Slow down the Comets. Nice thing about it is Coach Matula can go to the bench and bring in some solid subs.
Oldaker on the outside gets her own rebound and one. That was an awkward shot at first, but that's one where we've seen her improve in those shots. Her range has definitely improved from last season, and you can tell by her field goal percentage. But couldn't get that one to fall, but gets her own rebound.
Her moves around the basket now have gotten to where she's able to move her feet better. She's got, last year she could back her way in a little bit, and teams would just try to wall up and take a charge. Now she is pivoting around that defense. She has got some solid post moves.
And I think a lot of that is her calmness inside, and I think that very definitely correlates to her confidence. When she gets the ball, she's less timid.
She's not as rushed.
Yeah.
She doesn't appear as rushed.
And Braden Johnson strips it from Riley. Another turnover this time for the Cardinals. The Comets retake that 2-point lead. And neither team feel like they're in any rush. 2:35 in the first.
Solid defense there by Colerain.
Yeah, there's the other McNally.
They are letting them play a little physical out on the perimeter. Backdoor cut, nice backdoor cut by the sophomore.
Daniels kicked out to Braden Johnson for three, and she's just been on fire in the last few games. Braden Johnson.
That's quite a luxury to pull off the bench somebody who over the last few games has just become a three-point assassin.
And Mason hasn't been scoring the ball as well in this first quarter, but Matula's got to be happy with the defense. 3 defenders on Oldaker. There's really no move there to get around any of those defenders, and another rushed shot. She struggled a little bit in the first quarter, but she's got 4 of the Comets, 11 points, and they have the 5-point lead with 1:40 left in the first.
This is exactly Colerain wants to make Mason play defense a long time on possessions. This is just this offense right here is a high post stall game. This is old school. You bring 2 post players up to the elbow, dribble around them.
And there's Kylie McNally. All 8 of these Colerain points in the first quarter have come from the McNally twins. And talk about the futures for each team. Colerain's a little more in question with McNally twins graduating.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. I mean, that's quite a luxury to have 2 players, and they're athletic, they're physical.
When you kind of look at it like one's the offense, one's the defense, Abigail McNally averaging 19.5 points, and we've seen at least 2 steals from Kylie McNally on the defensive side tonight. And they play very unselfishly as well.
They are definitely not afraid to run some clock.
Abigail McNally hits back iron on a 3. Good defense from Kyla Oldacre, stepping out a little bit. She gets it inside with a nice dish to Becca Sanders, who draws the foul.
That is a part of Kyla's game that I think has just been incredible this year. She is an unselfish player, but she is now knows that she's going to have 2 defenders wrapped up around her, and the Mason offensive players are cutting to the basket, and she is just more than willing to let somebody else score. I think right there, you asked earlier, she's thinking about getting 22 points. If she was, she wouldn't have passed that.
Yep.
You know, and that's something that says a lot about her.
And she's realized, too, it's realizing that the refs are letting it play a little more physical in this game, and sometimes her going up against 3 defenders when they're not going to call a foul isn't the best option. And it takes a really good player to realize that, too.
Well, she maintains her calm, and that's another thing that I like about her is the competitive side of her probably at times would just like to unleash because she gets beat on, and she just maintains a calmness.
And she waits for moments like that there. The nice block on Abigail McNally. McNally's got nothing easy in this first quarter, only 4 points. And Rosano has trouble with it. 3 seconds. Daniels, there's going to be a kick ball with 1.8 on the clock.
Wow, are they giving it on the side there? The official, he gave it to her underneath, which I think Matula would have preferred, but it's on the side. But I'm sure he's got a sideline inbounds play here.
1.8's a decent amount of time, a dribble or 2. Into Oldacre, the turnaround, no good. And that'll end out the first quarter. The Comets a little sloppy, but get it back together and lead the Colerain Cardinals by 4. We'll head to a quick break and stay with us for second quarter action.
I would compare myself to a gazelle because growing up, coaches always told me that I run like a gazelle, like long strides. I feel like a dog. It's basic.
A panda because they're fluffy and soft.
It would probably be a dog because I'm kind of loud.
A dolphin because they like to swim and I like to swim too.
Probably a deer because everyone associates me with a deer.
A giraffe because I'm really tall. Probably a cat because I like sleeping.
Any animal, I'll compare myself to a giraffe because, I'm both tall and then, strong, so period.
I'd be like a rhino because I like to box people out in basketball and they're pretty rough.
Probably a mouse because they're small but fast.
If a song played every single time I walked in the room, it would probably be TikTok by Kesha because it goes, "The party don't start till I walk in."
Welcome back into Mason Arena, where Mason is trying to clinch a share of the GMC title, and they're doing it against the 12-9 Colerain Cardinals. I'm Ben Haller alongside Mr. Connor. Mr. Connor, what did you see in that first quarter?
Well, I saw kind of a rugged style basketball. I mean, both teams are kind of pounding on each other. Not a lot of fouls called. both teams they're having to work. I don't recall one easy bucket. Has there been just a breakout layup? I mean, it's been pretty much you got to work to score. Look, right here's Colerain, 4 points down.
Mason's going to switch their defense up a little bit, go with a little bit of a 1-2-2 zone. Maybe it looks like more like a 2-3. And that's the second time we've seen McNally inside lose her footing. Another travel on her. No one really stood out in the scorebook in the first quarter. Oldacre and both McNallys have 4 points each, and they'll lead both teams with that.
I think Mason would like to get a couple buckets here and get this pace turned up.
Rosano stumbles but gets it to Oldacre, and nice improvised play from Rosano. Good vision to get it down low.
Gabby came up a little gimpy there, it looked like, as she was getting back on defense. Hopefully she's okay. Seems to be moving well on defense. I think they're going into this zone, basically daring them to shoot on the perimeter. They haven't really proven they can make one yet.
Only 1 3-point made from either team in the first quarter. That was Braden Johnson. And that's McNally, gets it off the glass.
Can't get driven in that zone, can you, Ben?
6 points for Kylie McNally now. She leads all scorers. And Rosano's had trouble with it a couple times up by the half-court line on the logo, but she's able to draw a foul there. Joy Rezig will check in for the Comets.
Colerain sticking with this man-to-man. There's no reason to switch it up right now. They've contained Mason's offense.
Rezig on a nice drive. Looked like that was a set play. It was a nice screen from Oldacre. But the good help defense from Colerain. Oldacre, one dribble from the free throw line, can't get that to fall. And that's Bartell trying to push it, gets it out to Abigail McNally, and Abigail McNally just, we thought that was one of the first possession, but she's been overeager. That's uncharacteristic of her. When you're averaging 19.5 points, it seems like you know how to start your drive.
Well, she might be pressing a little bit. She knows that, she's going up against a McDonald's All-American, and she wants to assert herself, and sometimes she can be a little anxious and, can't falter. She's motivated to play well.
Well, how much does you talked about All-American, but having a 6'6" presence inside, getting ready to block your shot, how much does that rush your shot?
And that's exactly how Kyle Oldacre changes games that you can't even see in the stats. You go and you look at the statistics every week and you see, somebody's averaging 8 rebounds or 15 points or something like that. How many shots does Kyla Oldacre alter? Just that alone. If they kept that stat, she'd lead the country in altering shots because everything that's in the paint, she alters it. And even when you pop out and she comes out and gets a hand in the face of a shooter, I mean, you got to shoot over them long arms.
There's Garrison. Lost the handle, and Colerain will keep possession.
Parrish is back in the game. She kind of set out a little bit there in the first quarter.
Matula plays around with his guards a little bit in terms of what lineups he likes. The front court is more consistent, but the back court he seems to always have different rotations. As that three's knocked down by Bartell. She's the first Cardinal not named McNally to score tonight.
What a cut.
And
that's
Barnes
a heck of a pass.
Able to draw the foul. And, you mentioned it earlier, Amanda Barnes always kind of plays that old school type of basketball. She's not too flashy, but she gets the job done. Doesn't miss a whole lot of layups, doesn't turn the ball over, and that's important on a team when you're trying to make a run for state.
Well, every good team that wins a lot of games has players like Amanda Barnes. She plays defense. She scores in the paint. She takes care of the ball on the perimeter. I think some of her being a guard when she was younger, in the middle school, she kind of came up as a guard, and now she kind of serves as that kind of utility type player. She can get the ball on the perimeter and handle it well enough, but boy, she moves well without the ball. She's just a heck of a player. smart player. And, you know, there again, you're probably not going to see tons of stat stuffing, you know, but golly, the main stat at the end of the game is the win, and that's what she's out there to do.
Yep.
I think she could probably put up more points if she wanted to, you know, but that would be forcing the action, and I think she gets her scores out of Mason's natural offensive flow.
There's going to be a whistle and another turnover on Colerain.
Pace of this game is definitely the way Colerain wants it.
Yep. Oldacre. Now Colerain's altered a lot of her shots,
Yeah.
and that's something hard to do.
They're walling up when she comes in, and that's obviously the coaches prepared them well to wall up against her, you know, and make her go through bodies. You don't have to be 6'6" to counter her, but you got to wall up and make her go through bodies, and that's what they're doing.
Abigail McNally in the corner. They get it inside. It's quick passes with this Mason zone defense, but that one's taken away by Rezig, and Parrish is open on the fast break, and she doesn't miss a whole lot of those. Easy 2 points for Maddie Parrish. Comets in transition.
And that's what they need to get going. They need to create some steals, some deflections. They're really scrappy getting loose balls.
Well, it felt like we talked to Matola earlier. Coming into this game, you expect Colerain to be the aggressor because of what you talked about. They don't have a whole lot to lose, but Mason can't be too relaxed.
No, and let's, you know, as this game stays this close and it keeps going, who's the pressure on? You know, the Comets.
That three's going to be taken by Miller. And the putbacks there for Garrison. Only averages 1.1 point per game, but making a difference here in the second quarter, cutting the deficit to 3.
Now they switch up. We're going to go a little zone.
Rosano was open on that wing. She's taking more of those than usual, and Rosano, that's where she's good, using her strength inside, keeping the ball high.
She's getting the ball in that short corner there, and Colerain is kind of playing her to come back into the lane, and she went baseline side with that, which is they're playing her to come back to the lane.
You can have a certain move that's as good as it can be, but to make you an All-American, you have to have a variety of moves and be able to go multiple directions. You know, you never hear about Kyla Oldacre, make her go right, make her go left.
Yeah.
There's another mid-range doesn't fall from Barnes. And Peyton Black, the first time we'll see her tonight. She'll check in for Rosano.
I think Coach Matula is a little bit disappointed with his defensive rebounding there. Get Gabby a break and talk to her a little bit about defensive positioning on the backside to get those rebounds.
Both teams have switched to a zone, and the old basketball cliche, it's always hard to rebound in a zone, but it's true. When you don't have a man to box out, you kind of have to scramble to find somebody. I think there's going to be a foul on Mason. Mason fans wanted a foul on Colerain, but they don't get one, and it goes the other direction.
Yeah, I think they called her for kind of clearing out with that elbow, which when you got somebody kind of smacking on your arm to get to the ball.
3-point taken, left it short from Miller, and now Mason's got a man open. That's Becca Sanders for 2. Parrish can finish, but she can also dish it out as well. A freshman point guard.
That's a nice play because that was a tough angle to make that pass.
Oldacre, another block. And Mason, Matula wants a timeout right away, and he is not happy with the Comets defense, even though they got the block. And
yeah, I think he would like to see a little bit of an offensive set here because the offense is kind of struggling a little bit. I think he's looking for some ball movement down here on this set, but I think he's talking to him a little bit about their defensive rotation. The rotation in this zone. They're not really moving quickly into the rotation that he wants. I think he's called him over to talk a little bit about that and emphasize that they've got to box out on the backside when a shot goes up.
And for Colerain, they've switched it up a little bit as well. Which defense do you like moving forward to stop this Mason team trying to get their share of the GMC title?
I think
tonight?
Colerain's going to keep switching it up. I don't think they want Mason to get comfortable. If you stay man and you keep just letting Kyla, own the paint, I just don't. I think they're going to switch it up. I think they want Mason to have to see different looks. They want the guards to have to come down, look at something different.
Well, there's the flex look on offense for the Comets.
Which I think they've got the cutters open in the flex, but I think they're out so wide they can't make that pass down there to the cutter.
Yep.
I think they need to continue incrementally push themselves toward the basket, which he might just be looking at eating some clock.
Peyton Black kind of got tripped, and I think they're going to say no shot. She was coming to catch the ball down low.
I think she got fouled on the reception of the pass there. Obviously, we'd like to say she got fouled shooting, but I think it was kind of a collision on the cut.
Oh, it was a good try for Black. Once she knew she got tripped and it was going to be a foul,
Throw it up there
anyway.
right? Just knock out these free throws, go down and get a stop, and turn a little bit of momentum going into halftime here.
Yep, Mason is in the bonus, so she'll get free throws anyway. But she misses the front end, and Sanders down low gets the rebound. Good work from the sophomore. Looks like Goldacre's calling for another offensive set against this Colerain man defense, and there's going to be a kick ball.
See, there's another case. She's looking to pass it. She could easily put the ball on the deck and just barrel her way to the basket. She's a smart player.
Barnes will come out. We'll see Presley Daniels again. And Rosano.
We're in the set. Nice, well played by Colerain. See that switch in there?
Yeah.
They've done their work.
You can tell how prepared they were coming into this game against Mason and knowing what they were going to run. Rosano.
That was a nice play there by Sanders. She was kind of falling out of bounds. Took that dribble trying to go baseline, that got cut off, and then finds Rosano cutting. They're pretty unselfish. Do you think that's something that has improved throughout the season as they were all trying to find their way early on in the season? Now they're starting to be more comfortable and trust each other. Is that something that you've called a lot of games that you're seeing?
Yeah, well, I think this team, especially that correlates to the depth that we've seen improve from this team. Earlier in the season and kind of mid-season, we only saw a rotation of 6-7 players. Already tonight, Matula's put in 9 in there.
Yeah.
And this isn't a blowout by any means. Mason's only up 8.
Well, he wants his players to play in significant moments because you never know when they're going to be in there in a significant moment down the road.
44 seconds on the clock. Mason sticking in their zone defense. It seemed like Matula is like that a little more than the man he saw in the first quarter. Another 3 taken from Bartel is no good. Strong rebound for Oldacre with 30 seconds on the clock. If Mason doesn't get anything in transition, they'll probably hold for the last shot unless you get Daniels open on the wing. She can't connect.
You take that shot.
And there's another one that Oldacre just altered. She didn't block the shot, but Bartel knew she was coming behind her and had to rush it. And that'll be a foul on Colerain on the rebound, and Mason gets to go to the line again.
Got to hit these free throws. You get these free throws, get that 10-point lead, come down and get a stop. It'd have been nice to see that 3 go in, that Presley shot. If that goes in, then you're not, but when it doesn't go in and they get a breakout like that, and you see that a lot on threes, don't you? That long miss usually leads to some sort of breakout. Those free throws gotta.
Well, that's impressive because Oldacre altered that shot at 6'6", getting down the floor like that. I mean, that's the difference between being a really big recruit and being an All-American. Abigail McNally with a second on the clock, no good, and the buzzer sounds. First half Little rough for the Comets, but they do hold a 23-15 lead over the Colerain Cardinals. We'll take a break for halftime. Stick with us for the second half of this one.
This is the most useless thing I know how to do. 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E, 6F, 7G, 8H. I can whistle.
I can juggle. I can bend my finger back really far.
I'm very popular on TikTok, and I can do some great TikTok dances.
I know how to knit blindfolded.
I can do the worm pretty good. Probably crochet.
String.
I'm good at writing in cursive.
I know a bunch of card tricks and how to shuffle cards.
The best brand of water is Smart Water because it has a little goldfish on the inside and it makes me happy every single time I see it. The Kroger water, I don't know.
Dasani, it just tastes good. The best brand of water would be the water that comes from my fridge because I don't mess with bottled water.
Ooh, definitely Smart Water. It's just very crisp and has a very nice taste to it.
Whatever water my fridge has because it's really crisp.
Smart Water because it makes you smart.
Any water bottle with the cap and the spout thing at the top.
Oh yes, my great Body Armor right here.
Ice Mountain because it always has the cool watery part on the outside that gets on your hands so you know it's cold.
Smart Water.
Welcome back to Mason Arena, where the Comets are trying to grab a share of the GMC title with the Princeton Vikings. Unfortunately, the Comets were only able to play the Vikings once during this season, and they did beat them by 8 or 9 points. But GMC rules, if they're tied in the record book, or if they're tied with records, then then they share the title. And Oldacre opens up with a couple of attempts, finally gets fouled.
Well, those are both, if Mason can hold on and win this and share it with that team, that's 2 quality teams to represent the league as champs.
Princeton will take that 3 seed in the Cincinnati region heading into the state tournament. Mason's the 2. And Oldacre knocks down the first. And it's interesting because the 1 seed is Mount Notre Dame, who Princeton played in the regular season, beat by a score of 26-27, but it went down as a 1-0 loss in the scorebook as there were some ineligibility issues for Princeton. So I'm not sure how much that can affect the seeding and what the coaches are thinking heading into the bracket draw. But
well, I think those top 3 seeds, they're interchangeable because nobody wants to play them. So if Princeton would have been number 1 or Mason or M&D, nobody wants to play them in the tournament anyhow. Everybody avoids them at the draw. So by the time they get to the district finals and the regional semis, you got to play the best of the best anyhow.
Rezig off the steal gets fouled, but especially Mason, the least coveted spot in that bracket draw, because you know how it works. It's not a set bracket. The coaches go in by seeding list and pick where they want to go in the tournament. And the 34 seed, the last spot, Northwest, 0-15 on the year, they had to take the bye going up against Mason. So even teams not only didn't want to play Mason, but teams wanted to get out of the way.
Yeah.
As their free throw struggles continue tonight.
Yeah, and that's something that, that can come back to get you. You got to make those free throws, and this game's probably going to end up, going to the foul line. Both teams could go to the foul line a lot because it's going to get physical as the 2 teams fight and claw for this win. We'll probably see a little bit different second half than we saw first half with a little bit more sense of urgency.
Abigail McNally's second attempt doesn't go either.
Big rebound by Gabby.
Up to this point, it has not been McNally's night. Averaging 19.5 points, she's only got 4. Rezig misfires, but Oldacre again on the offensive rebound.
Well, I think that's something too. We've gotten so accustomed to how well Mason plays, and we might even be a little critical here tonight, saying they're not playing sharp, but they are playing great defense. I mean, you got one of the top scorers in the league here tonight, who only has 4 points.
Yep.
So something's going right, and the defense. You can go cold from the perimeter, but defense can always play. Defense travels. It plays at home or away. Even when the rims are tight and the basket looks like it's got a lid on it, defense can still play hard.
Yep, and a team is good enough to make a state tournament run when you ask a Mason team, what's your identity? And it's hard to pick one thing out. They do a lot of things really well. They shoot the 3 ball well, but they don't live or die by the 3. Obviously, Oldacre can go inside. And last season, one of their kryptonites was when Oldacre got in foul trouble or she had some injury. She had a couple of injuries during the course of the season, but they struggled a little bit. But this year, when stuff like that happens, they're able to pick it up and play well anyway.
If she's out of the game, they still have weapons because they can spread the floor and drive to the basket. And they may not be, their three-point shooting is just like any team's three-point shooting. Some nights it's great, some nights it's a little colder. But they drive to the basket well and kick it out and move well. And then they can rely on that half-court discipline to get good looks.
And it says a lot about kind of the culture of this team and the hard work of this team, because last season you could argue they had more weapons than they do this year around Kyla Oldacre, with Marilyn Popplewell and Margot Mattis, 2 key pieces of last year's team. One transferred, one graduated. But I think a lot of people would agree this team might be better this year, or had a better regular season. It's close. They went undefeated last year, went to the GMC, but I don't think they had the schedule that Mason has this year with the out-of-town tournaments and showcases they've played. And that's something we don't talk a whole lot about is they went down to Tennessee, they went to Berlin, Ohio, and played some really good teams. And because those teams aren't from around here, it doesn't mean a lot to some of these fans watching at home, but they performed well in those.
Yeah, and when you come into a season with some unknowns, like the known was Kyla. The known was we've got a 6'6" superstar back, but there was a lot of unknowns. And to still say we're going to take our team and we're going to go down to Tennessee and play top teams, that are tops in that region. We're still going to go to Classic in the country and play teams that are, among the best in their state. And that just says that's the expectation. That is the culture that Coach Rob Matula sets, and we have high expectations.
Abigail McNally gets Colerain on the board for the first time in the second half as Oldacre, another offensive rebound and putback for her. Colerain is getting killed on the boards in the second half.
All of a sudden, Oldacre is putting the ball in the hole, and right now their offense is is rebounding a missed shot.
They haven't talked about it since the very beginning of the game, but Oldacre up to 13 points now, so she only needs 9 to reach that 1,000-point mark, so that's something to watch going forward as Kylie McNally commits an over-in-the-back violation and throws the ball at the ref, and that's the easiest way to get a technical foul.
Yeah, I think she kind of threw it hard at his feet and just frustrated there.
Now, this game means a lot for Colerain, and you can see it in the way they're playing. But you got to leave that all out on the court. And you definitely don't want to give Parrish a couple of free throws, although Mason struggled tonight from the line. She knocks down the first.
I think Colerain had 15 points at the half.
Yep.
And have only scored 2, 4 minutes gone.
10-2 was Mason's advantage in the second half as Parrish is able to get both to go.
I think there might have been a little bit of a discussion about defense at halftime in Coach Matula's locker room. I think the word defense was probably brought up a few times.
Yeah.
He's like, no more of this playing I hope defense. I hope they miss it. We're gonna influence shots.
Sanders on the baseline drive. What a move from Sanders, recognizing the holes in the defense.
That was a nice play. She could have taken the 3. She was open for it, put the ball on the deck, went to the basket and scored. Just another sophomore that's logging significant minutes in a game to win a title. That says a lot that Coach Matula can go to his bench, put in a sophomore, and say you do your job out there. That was a nice play.
And on the other end, Steele will get to the line. She's been quiet today. Kind of that fourth option for Colerain, averaging right around 5 points per game, but she gets her first point here from the line. As Oldacre is going to check out of the game along with the freshman Parrish. And we'll see Kylie McNally for the first time since the technical foul.
I think she just needed to cool off for a second. I don't think she did anything malicious. I think it was just a case of feeling a little frustrated with the over back call. Felt she might have been nudged, and I don't know if that was she was mad at the ref. She just kind of threw the ball at the floor, and it just so happened the ref was pretty darn close.
Yep. And there's some parents not real happy with the officiating tonight, but
I think we've got I don't know if they're going to get a good rating on the Yelp tonight from those fans.
Yeah.
They're a little bit frustrated with the officiating up there, and they're getting they're a little upset.
Mason gets that lead up to 17 points now. Kind of been a quiet run for Mason, but they're growing that lead nonetheless. And On the other end, Abigail McNally with 3 defenders on her. She gets the foul, though. That'll come on Rosano.
You can tell she's getting a little frustrated. I mean, she averages 19.5 points per game, has 4 points. You know, she's going to the foul line here. 3 minutes left in the third quarter. She's significantly far away from her average. I don't think she has the rebound she's normally used to getting. You know, she's a little frustrated. I mean, that's how competitive players are sometimes. You could tell she kind of took that loose ball rebound there and kind of slung it up against the glass.
Her first free throw of the second half falls, and she's up to 7 points now off the second free throw miss. And another out of bounds goes Mason's way. Kind of the exact same play that we saw the last possession down, and those fans are going to get escorted out of the building.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's worth it to get that frustrated with the officiating. You know, to miss the game. It's a high school sport, but
and we know it's big for Colerain to beat Mason, kind of knock them off, not let them get that JMC title. But it also for Colerain, the bracket's already out. You have no shot at the GMC title. This is just not a game where it's worth something like that, and there's a technical on the Colerain coach.
Well, this is probably one of those times when what's not said is important.
Yep.
You know, it's a shame. We got two teams out here that are, you know, it's about the kids. It's about the kids. Officials have to maintain order. They don't want the game to get away.
Yep, and unfortunately, these things happen more when you're playing a team like Mason that's going to frustrate teams. So this Mason team, and especially Rob Matula, is not – he's used to situations like this. I'm sure he's quite a few times had to make a decision on who's shooting those technical free throws.
Yeah.
This time he goes with Braden Johnson, and she can only get one to fall.
Yeah, and it's just important to remember this is the kids are playing. We got 2 good teams out here. Obviously, we want to see, you know, the home team do well.
Barnes takes a stumble as she's coming to receive the pass, but they're going to say a timeout first for Matula. And
I think that, you know, it's just one of those things where I don't know if the refs are going to get a favorable rating right now from some fans when they go do their Google survey tonight. But you know, that Coach Matula called a timeout as Amanda Barnes went to the floor there. I mean, it's the correct call. You know, sometimes some of that pollution from a coach that's frustrated and getting in the ear of a referee and you know, no matter which side, home or away, it can just kind of make the floor a little toxic for the kids. And you'll see an elbow thrown here. It does affect them. It does affect the kids.
you always tell them, you know, just focus on the game. Don't let that outside noise get to you. But when they're high schoolers and they go to class for 7 hours before this game, they're probably a little tired coming into it. It's harder than it is at a college or professional level.
You know, you just look at, you know, Kyla in the paint. Every time she's in the paint, it's bumping and pushing and.
Yeah, but I don't think she's going to complain about it too much.
No.
I think she's used to it.
She is used to it, and you know, there's going to be a point where she's ready to move on. You know, she obviously is going to finish out her career here and do some great things, but you know, she's going to be ready for the collegiate level where, you know, in high school, if somebody runs into her, they call a foul on her, you know, because they run into her, and that's going to be a little different at the next level, and she'll probably be kind of glad of that.
The steal misses a layup. Is under 2 minutes to go in the third. Peyton Black's going to get a long two-look and knock that down. She's on the board for the first time, the junior.
That was a nice shot. I wish she'd have been back. I think John Calipari or Rick Pitino said the worst shot in basketball is when your foot's on the 3 line.
Yep.
You know?
Steele will try her luck again, and this time it's a block and a rebound for Oldacre. Parrish, realizing she doesn't have numbers, she'll pull it out.
Good decision there.
1:27 on the clock. And good movement from the Comets. Barnes maybe tried to draw a foul, and there's nothing called. And now Matula's upset with the refs, so you might see some bad reviews from both sides.
I think if the game were tighter right now, we might, but I mean, I'm not sure.
Oldacre grabs the rebound and gets fouled, and she was pulling her arm away. It looked like there was a bit of an elbow, and McNally's not happy about it.
She's not swinging her elbows. You know, they changed that rule a few years ago. You couldn't clear out or swing above your neck with your elbows, and she isn't really swinging them. She got people hanging off of them.
This time it's a foul on Colerain, and you can tell some of these fouls are starting to be frustration fouls. You know, when you think you're getting robbed a little bit on some foul calls, you start to think you have the right to be a little more aggressive. And Lozano inside. Colerain back in their 2-3 zone defense. They have switched it up like you predicted a few times in this third quarter. 44 seconds on the clock. Parrish in no hurry.
Yeah, they do a nice job of coming up on the high post there. You know, they're in that 2-3. There's that, as soon as you get that opening, you got to sort of hit that.
Oldacre on the baseline. Kick out to her teammate Parrish with 19 on the clock. That one rims out. Rebound taken by Bartell. Bartell inside now. The leading scorer for Colerain, Abigail McNally, draws a foul. She'll go to the line again. She's had her opportunities at the free throw line.
Yeah. Well, that's a score for you, right? When you got to find a way, and so she's drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line. She'll probably end up getting close to her scoring average if she keeps this up.
She's got to knock her free throws down first. I mean, she only has 7. And she's missed a few free throws tonight.
She's a competitor. You got to like the way she battles.
I'm not letting that outside noise get to you, too. We mentioned how hard it can be, but she keeps going. 4 seconds on the clock. Mason got to get something off quick before the end of the third, and it looks like they're not going to. At the end of the third, Comets pick it up a little bit and have a 19-point lead, 38-19 over the Colerain Cardinals. Stay with us for fourth quarter action.
If I had a boat, I would probably name it the SS Rosano.
Parliament. The Starlight. I would name it the Peanutty.
BJ Baby, because that was my nickname freshman year.
Probably some like boring name like Bert.
The Yoasty Posty boat, because that used to be my nickname.
SS Sander.
Renee.
I would name it Pearl.
If I had a boat, I'd probably name it like Esquire.
If I was dying for my last meal, I'd probably have like lettuce wraps from P.F. Chang's.
Triple cheeseburger from McDonald's. Sushi. If I were dying, I would probably choose a seafood boil as my last meal.
Definitely pizza, ice cream, cinnamon rolls, Chipotle burrito, mac and cheese, fettuccine Alfredo.
Definitely like fondue, like chocolate fondue.
The school pizza.
Chipotle, white rice, chicken, steak, lettuce, pico, and sour cream on the side.
I would choose like a crab.
Comets are a quarter away from clinching a share of the GMC title with a 19-point lead over the Colerain Cardinals. Colerain's a middle-of-the-pack team coming in with the assignment of taking down GMC top Mason, but in that first half, it looked like they were doing a little bit of a better job, but things kind of fell apart for them in the third quarter.
Well, Mason's defense got a lot more active, a lot more deflected passes, a lot more contested shots. So we may have to go in and see if we can find the tape of Coach Rob Matula's halftime speech there and put that in the archives, because 4 points in a quarter. I know Mason, both the boys and the girls program, prides themselves on single-digit quarters.
Yep.
And that is incredible because we accomplished that here with both of our programs. Single-digit quarters are a realistic thing, and 4 points is pretty impressive.
Well, sometimes you forget it's Mason, right? Single-digit points is very hard to accomplish, but it's the expectation at a school like this, and both the boys and the girls, when they've had success like they've had in the last several years. But this Mason girls team this year is stepping up to that challenge.
Well, defense is going to be the name of the game here coming up. I mean, you know, obviously all the high-seeded teams usually have some first or second round games that they're expected to win, but then when you get a little deeper, you got to play D, you know, and you can't just automatically chalk it up to those top 3 seeded teams. There's a lot of good middle-of-the-pack teams that can play. The Southwest Ohio girls basketball has just gotten so good at Division 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know, just some of it was ushered in several years ago when Mason had those dominant teams, and you know, Taylor High School used to have some incredible small school teams that were just incredible. You know, and it's just this area in girls basketball is so good. You can't just go in and say, hey, the number 1, 2, or 3 seed got a cakewalk to a final. We've seen that this year, obviously, with what Lakota East can do.
The 1-on-1 opportunity for Oldacre. She got both to fall, but a lane violation on her teammate. I think that was Rosano trying to get position for the rebound. Is going to cancel out that second one. So she stands at 8 points away from that 1,000 mark. So you could see 2 pretty cool things happening in this fourth quarter with the GMC title clinch and potentially a 1,000-point career.
That's quite a milestone. And to think she does it in a way that's not, I don't think it's a selfish way. It's a take what they give you, you know, do what you're good at. You never really see her do, I mean, Coach Matula would probably let her shoot more perimeter shots if she wanted to, but she shares the ball.
Well, people forget, too. I mean, they see college players play and think, oh, that's a milestone, 1,000 points. That happens a lot for college players. But even though Oldacre is a 4-year varsity player, she didn't come in and the star player her freshman year. That just doesn't happen in high school basketball like it does in college.
Yeah.
Another Colerain turnover in the hands of Braden Johnson.
I think Coach Matula would like to see another single-digit quarter here.
I think it would too, and a lot of people are at home are just saying get the win as Johnson knocks down another 3. You know, Johnson hasn't got a ton of opportunities, but in the last few games at least, she has taken advantage.
This is huge. Braden Johnson's elevation of her outside shooting is something that come tournament time, when he knows he's got more options on his bench, can you imagine just knowing I can go down there to a 3-point assassin, tell her to launch it. And, you know, she doesn't force it. She takes it. She's always set up. And I think the thing about it is she still is giving him good defense. She knows that if I'm going to get a play, I need to go guard people. And she's down there creating loose balls, diving on loose balls.
Well, she's quite the writer, too.
She is a top-notch student athlete. I think that's something that we can say about a lot of those players down there on that team. Is you obviously as a student know them quite well, and they're good people, they're good students, they're good players. You know, you know a Mason girls basketball player when they're in their class, they're attentive and they're usually right in the middle of things. Some of the hardest workers, they carry themselves as winners. And that's not just winning on the scoreboard. They just carry themselves that way. Braden Johnson definitely is a great ambassador for the girls basketball team, an outstanding member of a lot of things that she does in school.
Well, one thing they do really well is they hold each other accountable on the court, but they do it off the court as well.
Yeah.
You can tell when someone's struggling a little bit, there's always someone there to help. And this team has a very no man left behind mentality.
Yeah. Well, and you saw that during the JV game. They're all sitting together, close to the court, cheering on the JV teammates who they know those are some of their teammates next year. They practice with them, they grow with them, they work out with them.
Well, that's the recipe for a state Final Four, too, is they have the talent on the court, but when they're really going up against a team that has equal talent, can they come together and work as a team? And I know that sounds very cliche, but that can really make a difference late game situations where you really have to trust your teammates.
Yep. Well, and I think that's something we've seen. I think that, as we talk about the growth of this team, the word trust is something that's important because you had a freshman point guard who eventually made her way into the starting lineup. We had to learn to trust her. She had to feel confident in what she could do. She knew she could play. You had to trust other players to deliver, and they've done that. And it's why you look at the scoring. It's so spread out. I mean, Kyla Oldiker does not have 30-point games. She has 15-point games, 8 rebounds, 3 or 4 assists, and, it just goes right down the line. There's a player with 8, 6, 10,
Yep, and you'd have to imagine, in a few weeks after the season's over, when they head to Chicago for the McDonald's All-American Classic with Kyla Oldiker playing, she might be one of the players with the lowest scoring average on the season, but that does not mean she's one of the worst players.
Yeah. Well, I think what's that say, Ben, too, about, you look at high school players these days, and it's a lot of players think you got to put up gaudy numbers. You got to score a ton of points. And then you go look at some of these guys and some of the women that are playing college basketball in high school, they didn't have gaudy numbers. They were 18 points a game, 9 rebounds. They weren't 35 point per game. Obviously Kennard was an incredible scorer, and but sometimes you look at the player of the year in Ohio. They'll average 19.9 points per game and 11 rebounds, but they're good at everything they do. And you look at these college rosters. I mean, sometimes there's guys on there who average 12 points a game. Mick Cronin at UC, when he was at UC, his roster was full of guys who were, kids who averaged 14 points in high school, but they could guard people, they could rebound, they could, work their butts off.
Well, coaches like Mick Cronin and other college coaches will tell you, just as much as they recruit talent, they recruit an attitude. And, you don't want to hold all your recruits to it, but winning in high school, even though you're just one player, winning in high school can give you that edge over another player that's got kind of the same numbers.
Yeah.
Because you know how to win, and you've done it at every level you've been at, and that's what a lot of these Mason players are going to have the advantage heading into. Is a lot of them want to play past high school.
Well, they definitely have a recipe for it here. Coach Matula has his college rosters are dotted with former Mason players, and a lot of them, the college coaches, they all have some of the similar traits. Coachable, hardworking.
Abigail McNally is able to get the N1 to fall, and that's more of what we know she can do. We didn't necessarily see that from her tonight, and the numbers won't show, but she, we can see that she never gave up on this game.
Yeah, and you can see, the frustration on her face, and I mean, she's accustomed to. When you're averaging almost 20 points a game and you're still in single digits,
yep,
it's frustrating. And you want to win your last. This is probably their last regular season game. You want to win it.
Yep. Another Mason Lane violation, and it's a frustrating game, last regular season game, but you're going to wake up tomorrow, and Colerain's got a pretty good draw in the state tournament too, so this game is not by any means the end of the season for this Colerain squad. McNally getting inside again, and that's where she makes her bread and butter, is catching the ball at the free throw line, and she can either dish it or score inside like we saw there. And she's finally up to double digits with 11 points on the night. But the lead is still 22 for the Comets over halfway through this fourth quarter. And frustration there for Lillian Ehlers, so she can't get the layup to fall.
Nice drive to the basket. Nice drive to the basket. Sometimes you put so much work into that, turning, facing up, driving to the basket hard, and then, bam, you're so surprised that the basket's wide open that you just overshoot it a little bit.
Yep. You're going up expecting a little bit of contact or having to alter your shot, but you just get caught off guard. Nice.
She's a player who could give them some good minutes next year, in the post.
Well, what I like about this bench a lot too is they don't have a really good player on their bench that's like good at everything, but they have certain areas to, if there's a hole in the starting lineup that Matula needs to fix, they have a bunch of options to plug it.
Yeah, he's got here's this piece. I'm gonna put this piece in because I need good defense in the post, or I need somebody who can go in and guard somebody out on the perimeter.
And it's one of the many things we've talked about tonight that is just a recipe for success and exactly what you want going into the tournament. And they've got a really favorable draw. I mean, their sectional final game will come against Sycamore. As long as there's no upsets, it'll come against Sycamore, who they just beat by over 35 on Saturday.
And the tournament's a different animal. Some of these people are going to be playing in their first tournament, and as much as the regular season you'd like to think can impact what you're going to do in the tournament, this will be the first tournament game for a lot of players out there on that court. Yep. I know that they've played in the big games in Tennessee and Classic in the Country, but when they open up in the tournament and there's no tomorrow, if you lose, you're done. That's a new thing for, Kyla was there last year, but Barnes has got some minutes last year.
Well, that's why when you talk to Matola, that's a big reason they're the 2 seed in the city, but they didn't take a bye.
Yeah.
Like we said, the bracket.
He likes to play.
The bracket isn't set. They choose their spots, and Mason chose to not have a bye, and a lot of that due to you get some of those nerves out, and they learn to play a playoff game against a less experienced, less talented team. They'll have a few games of experience now against teams they know they can beat. And Colerain's press almost got to Mason, and a telegraph pass knocked away by Steele, but Mason keeps possession.
Colerain's down 20, and unless they got a couple 10-point plays in their bag, it's getting out of reach. But the coach has got the kids engaged in the game, and they're still playing hard for them, and that says a lot. The competitive group of players. Some teams would roll over.
Yep. But this game means a lot for Colerain, and also seeing a few runs that they went on when these two teams played last year.
They're going to be a tough out in the tournament. They can play.
Braden Johnson tries another. That one was a little more contested, but we know she can knock those down. You're not going to make them all, but she's 2 for 3.
She was 4 for 8 Saturday, 50% from the 3 line. She's going to miss one here or there.
Yep, 2 for 3 tonight.
We'll have to talk to her about that.
Yeah, we may have to sit her down
for a
and
little
say,
conference, about how our expectations is that, she doesn't miss any of them. But
66% may not be good enough for us.
Yeah, that our expectations are pretty high. I'm sure if we went down there and played her in a game of horse after the game, both of us would be pretty much walking out of the gym pretty quickly. But we might pull some trick shots on her.
I don't know. I got a pretty good behind the backboard shot. I got the arc down.
Yeah.
Only from the right side, though. Being a manager of the basketball team's I'm pretty experienced in the horse game, playing against my co-managers and Jared Kelling and Nate Derrick. But
I'm sure you've taught him a few things about your strengths on the floor, where to shoot from. Those guys are young. They got a lot to learn to do about over the backboard, and
the blindfolded shot's coming next. As there's an and 1 for Steele. She stepped up a little bit in the second half. Scoreless in the first, but 6 points now and a shot at the line here.
They're still competing. Diving on the floor. A minute and a half left. And they're still diving on the floor. That's a sign of a team playing hard for their coach.
That's also a sign, this is their last regular season game, and they're starting to realize that, that their careers could be over soon. But that's exactly the mentality you need to have going into the tournament.
You don't want it to end. The seniors, that jersey is important to them. They don't want to have to take that thing off and turn it in.
Yep. This game easily could have been, there's 1:19 on the clock now, and this game easily could have been over 15 minutes ago, but they just keep extending the game.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that Mason struggled from the line tonight as Ehlers misses her first.
That's something I like to see, too, in a game that's, there's a 20-point differential. And, all right, game's over, but the coach is still coaching, the players are still playing hard. And, I like seeing that. I sometimes I don't like games when there's a big lead and you see the coach sit down, the players, just sort of go through the motions. To see them still playing hard and competing, that just says a lot about both teams. That's a lot of respect for one another.
Well, I know. It seems like all we've been talking about is the tournament coming up this week, but it's good practice for a tournament.
Yeah.
For a team like Colerain and for Mason, if you want to make a run, you're going to have to compete with teams like each other. And to get that little extra practice in and kind of confidence, too, Colerain's starting to play with them a little more in the last part of this fourth quarter. Colerain's going to take a timeout.
I don't think he's taking a timeout. I think this is kind of an old coach maneuver. When you have a player foul out, you're allotted a few extra seconds to bring that sub in, and sometimes coaches will pull all their players over and kind of that's their way of making a little bit of a statement, kind of show their frustration a little bit when you know who you're going to put in.
Well, that's the night for Abigail McNally, the near 20 points per game scorer. Only gets 11 tonight, but we saw the fight in her.
Yeah.
We saw some rebounds, some aggressive defense.
She had 4 fouls on her, and she was still playing defense like she didn't have 4 fouls, diving on loose balls. Great for her.
Yep.
You got to admire that. She's a senior. She wants to keep playing. You can tell she loves playing. She's got a gigantic competitive heart, and there she is. 4 fouls and still dive after loose balls.
42 seconds to go. Colerain is still pressing. And 20-point games, you often see teams kind of go to the end of their bench and grab those players you don't see as much, but Colerain doing this, it kind of saves them the humility. They're not going to let Matula do that with their aggressive play.
There's another player fouling out, and here we're going to pull them all over again. And,
He's going to use his few extra seconds, and he's actually not happy with the officials telling him, it's time to come back on the court.
Yeah. He's definitely, sometimes that's your way of making a statement to an official when you don't feel like maybe, and a lot of that's just frustration with this team.
Yep.
He's a good coach. He's got a good team, and he's just frustrated. And when you're frustrated, your emotions kind of pour out a little bit in a way that an hour after the game, you're kind of like going, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
Yep. Well, the junior Lillian Ehlers is at the line, and she misses the first. We've seen a lot of front ends missed from the free throw line, and she gets the second to go with 29 seconds on the clock. They're going to get it inside to Bartel, and a nice turnaround for Matea Bartel.
That was a nice isolation there.
And in this fourth quarter, you can start to see ways that Colerain can score that we didn't see in the first half. 10 seconds will wind down, but not without a Colerain fight. Force a turnover. Ball battled for 2 seconds, and that'll be the end of the game. Kylie McNally can't finish. 47-29, and the Mason Comets clinch a share of the GMC title with the Princeton Vikings. Finished GMC play with a 15-1 record. That only loss coming to Lakota East in the second overall game of the season. So you could just see how they finished out their season to perfection and a really good spot moving forward on Wednesday. They'll get their tournament started at Harrison against the 29 seed Anderson. But
well, that should be, like you said, I think Coach Matula wants to play those early games, not take those byes, because he wants to immediately get to playing and get some of those early tournament, jitters out of the way for some of those players who don't have tournament experience.
A very good season for this Comets team. The regular season comes to a close tonight after this makeup game, and they'll finish the season with a 20-2 overall record, 15-1 in conference, and share a title of the GMC. From tonight, thanks for joining in all night. I'm Ben Haller alongside the wonderful Mason Sports Radio supervisor, Mr. Connor. It's been a fun one, Mr. Connor.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Our school is lucky to have a group like you guys that are dedicated to doing this. I don't really do anything except just look at you guys and listen to you every day. We're very fortunate. We appreciate everything you do. I'm glad I got to work with you. It's always fun to get to do a game with a senior. You're talking about how the Comets are going to miss Kyla Oldiker next year. Mason Sports Radio is going to miss Big Ben Haller next year. I mean, let's be serious here. This community appreciates you, all that you've done, the way you've recruited new staff members to our program. And, we talk about leaving things better than you found it. You definitely are going to walk away from this program. And I know you got a long way to go because you love basketball and you're definitely ready to call some baseball games. But, we're definitely just fortunate to have Big Ben Haller and, of course, your buddy Evan Amazon, who got to do something really special with his dad over the weekend. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And that's really, isn't that really what it's about right there?
Yes.
Some memories. And we may make mistakes or say something stupid when we're up here. We crack a joke that nobody laughs at. But it's just fun. We get to do, and you call games and be together as friends. And we probably know you guys are friends with all those girls that were out there tonight, and that's even more meaningful because you get a comment on their great play. So I appreciate you, Ben, and thanks for letting me come on with you tonight. I think we probably will get some sort of award for this. We'll check the internet blog sites tonight to see how well we
do
do.
call ourselves the A-team.
We are the A-team. And, it's all about creating your own narrative these days. So we'll just go ahead and name ourselves the #1 sports broadcast team in America. Mm-hmm. We'll create something, www.com, and we're the #1. So great job tonight.
Well, thanks for coming on. I expected you to do a great job, and you met that expectation. And last time you did it with Sammy Connors, and I was very excited for that moment, for that senior year when I finally get to call a game with you. And it's been a fun 3 years, but like you said, it's not over yet. We got basketball
got a lot left
coming up.
Got a lot left, and for our fans out there, and we know there's thousands of them right now. I know you're looking forward to calling baseball games, and the Mason Sports Radio program that's what it exists for, is to give students like you a chance to do the things you love, and to see you get to do some baseball this spring. And I know you've already done a lot of planning and preparation for it. I'm really excited for that, just to hear you call games. I think baseball's a tough game to broadcast. So I'm anxious to see what you do in between all those pitches and mound visits and everything.
Yeah, well, baseball is my sport, so I'm very excited for it. They're going to have a very good team.
They are going to have a good team.
I don't even think we're jinxing anything with that. I mean,
Coach Kurt Bly has got a machine. He knows it. He's got excellent coaches, excellent players who buy into the culture of the way he wants the 4-5-0-4-0 to play. So you're going to get a chance to call games. But I really had a good time watching our Mason Comets girls team play tonight.
Yep.
They're a fun group. You know it. You see them in the halls. I mean, I walk down the hall and high-five the girls after a game, or, we can joke with Braden Johnson about not hitting all of her threes. But, I think going 66% from three line and 50% Saturday, she's pretty solid.
Yeah.
We'll let her slide. You're allowed to miss one. You got to have you got to have that room for improvement.
Yeah, exactly. And from tonight, I think that's going to wrap it up. The Comets clinch the GMC title with a win over the Colerain Cardinals.
Well,
Thanks
the trophy will stay here in Comet Country, right?
Yes, it will. Thanks for joining in, and stick with us. Wednesday night, Mason heads to Harrison and begins their state tournament run against the Anderson Raptors.